All right, so we are going to learn how to find slope and y-intercept from a table to make a slope-intercept form equation today. Okay, so you guys already know how to find slope, and that is using the formula. So m equals, you should be writing this down, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and again, if yours is freezing, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
I cannot see the link.
I didn't send the link. Just look at the board, dude. Look what I'm doing right now. All right, so I have the table here and I have the formula already set. So now I need to pick 2 points because I need 2 y's and I need 2 x's. So this is where I want you to use colors. Use 2 different colors. That way we can distinguish your first set from your second set. All right, so I can pick any ones that I want. I don't have to pick the first 2 or the last 2 or any ones. I can pick whichever ones I want. So let's say I pick this one here, the 320 and the 110. Oh, let's use a different color. I'm going to use purple. All right, so we got those 2 right there. Okay, now I'm going to name them. So this is my first x and this is my first y, so they are x1 and y1. On the bottom, I have my second set, so that's going to be my x2 and my y2. Okay, so now I know who they are, and now I need to put them where they go. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to just go ahead and go this way. If you want to go down, it's the same thing. But this time I'm going to need the bottom, so I'm going to put it down there. All right, so my y2 is a blue or turquoise 20. Oh, before that, I need to do this first because this is part of the equation. I need my fraction bar and my 2 subtraction signs. Always do that first in pencil. That way you don't forget that it is subtraction, okay? All right, so like I said, my y2 that goes here on top is a turquoise 20, so I'm going to put that right there. My y1 that goes right there is a purple 10, so that goes there. Down here, I need an x2, and that is a turquoise 3. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my turquoise and put a 3 right there. And my x1 is a purple 1. So that goes right there. Okay? And the color coding helps because look, the turquoise and turquoise are on top of each other. Okay? They're right over each other. The purple and purple are right over each other. And that's the only way it's going to be. It has to be like that if you color code. Okay, if it's mixed up, then you know you did something wrong and you can stop and fix it. Okay, all right, so now we have subtraction on both. So now I am going to do the 2-stick rule. So I'm going to do 2-stick rule up here. So the minus sign turns into a plus and the 10 turns into a negative 10. Down the bottom, minus turns into plus and the 1 turns into a negative 1. So now I am going to solve them. So this is where you do the minion math and you start asking yourself, well, who's going to win this fight? On top, they're going to fight because there is a positive and negative. Positive is going to win by 10. And on the bottom, positive is also going to win by 2. So that is my slope. My slope is 10 over 2. And remember, your numerator is your vertical change. And since it's a positive number, it is telling me to go 10 up. My denominator is a positive 2, so that tells me to go to the right, okay? But I can simplify this, and if I simplify this, I can divide. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so 5 is my slope, okay? So 5 is the slope. So now we need to continue because we need to make a slope-intercept form, which is this right here, y equals mx plus b, okay? This equation will tell you exactly how a line looks. It'll tell you where it crosses the y-axis and if it goes up or down, okay? The m being the slope, which we just found right there, and then the b is the y-intercept. That is where the line is going to cross the y-axis. Usually I'll call it the door, okay? So like say we have a graph like this, and say my line goes like that, this right there is my door, because if you look at the doors in your house, your doors are on walls. And walls are like the y-axis because they go up and down, okay? They're vertical. The x-axis, I don't really have any doors on my floor or on my ceiling, so that's not where the door is, okay? So that is the b right there. The motion afterwards of where the line goes is the m. Okay, that's the slope. If it's a positive slope, the line's going to go up. If it's a negative slope like this one, it's going to go down. Okay, so that's what this whole equation does. It tells me where I cross through and where do I go after that. Okay? All right, so now let's continue here. So now we're going to find b. Okay? And since we already know what m is 5, I'm going to go ahead and put it right there. So I'm just going to rewrite the whole thing, but I'm going to put my m where it goes. So I'm going to put a 5 right there, and I'll put it in turquoise, that way it stands out. Okay? All right, so now if I look over here to the left, I have a bunch of x's and y's, which is what I need because I have 3 variables now. I have a y, an x, and a b. And the only ones I can replace are those 2 right there, the y and the x. Okay, so now I'm going to find some y's and x's. So I can pick whichever ones I want from here. So let's say I pick, and let's go ahead and choose orange. Let's say I pick the last one just because it's down here. Okay, so this right here is my x, this right here is my y. So now I'm going to put them in the equation. So my y is a 30, and I have too many markers in my hand, equals, and then my slope, which was in turquoise, 5, and then my x is a parentheses, and it was a 5. So that's going to go in here. Okay? So all I've done so far is I got my slope-intercept form. Okay? After I found my slope of 5, which we already know how to do, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I got 5. I replaced the m with a 5. And then I went to my table for some more y's and x's because I need to replace this y and this x. So I just picked this one. I could pick whichever one, doesn't matter. I picked the last one. The x is a 5, the y is a 30. So now I replace them where they go. So instead of y, now it says 30. Instead of x, now it says 5. Okay? So now we're going to solve this. I'm going to multiply these two, and I get 25. And then plus b equals 30. I'm getting good at this markers flipping thing. All right, so now I need to solve for b. I need to get rid of this 25, so I need to subtract 25. So minus 25 here, minus 25 here. 30 minus 25 is 5. So I get b is 5. Okay? So now I know what b is, and I know what m is way up there. So now I'm just going to put them in this equation. So instead of mx plus b, I'm going to put y equals 5x, because that's my m, this is slope, plus my b, which is, oops, not a b anymore, now it's a 5. And that right there is my equation for this line. That equation will follow all of these points, and it should be right. And the what I mean by that is that if you choose another one, let's say I choose this one here, and I put that x and that y in here, it will be true. Watch. So on this one, my y is a 15 equals 5, and my x is a 2 plus 5. Okay, so I'm using this point right here that I circled in black, 2 and the 15. Replace the y, replace the x. So now I'm going to multiply this, and that gives me 10 plus 5 equals 15. And I get 15 equals 15, which is true. Okay, so that proves that it works. And I could use any one of these and it'll work. Okay, so that's the equation for this line. And what that means, if we look at a graph, and later on we'll learn how to graph these things, my slope is 5, and I'm going to put 5 over 1 because you always want your slope to be a fraction. And my b is a 5. Okay? So when you pull out your numbers, your m and your b, just put them like this, and always, always, always put arrows on this thing. The 5 on top tells me that I need to go up because it's positive, and the 1 on the bottom tells me that I need to go to the right also because it's positive. Okay? So if I was to graph this, first thing I would have to do is I would have to find my door. Just like when you guys go to your classes, or when you used to go to classes before Corona, you would have to find the door to the right classroom first. So this one, my door is going to be door number 5, and it's positive, so it's upstairs. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. So that is where my line is going to pass through. My slope tells me that I have to go up 5 from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So pretend you're sliding up the wall. And then you take one step forward, and that's your chair. Okay? So that is what your line would look like. It would be a positive slope because it goes up and it crosses the y-axis or the door at number 5. Okay, so that's how you find those. All right, does anyone have any questions on any of this? Because we're going to practice a bunch of them, so if you have any questions, let's just go through another one. And this time I'm going to go a little bit faster. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this whole thing, and let's do another one. Okay, and again, this is your work, so please copy this down. We're going to do number 2 now. Okay. So this is going to be number 2 on your worksheet that I sent you earlier. All right, yeah, this is number 2. Okay, so we have an x and y table, and I'm going to shorten it because it's kind of long. I'm not going to use all of it. -2, -4, -6, -8. I'll just use those 4 because it has 2 more. I don't want to use those. So 10, 4, -2, and -8. Okay. So first thing I got to do is I got to find slope. So slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. Now I need to pick 2 points. So I'm going to get my colors and pick 2 points. So let's say I pick this guy here, just because he looks the same, and then let's pick that one also. Okay, so we're going to pick those 2. Again, you can pick whichever one you want. You don't have to pick those 2. Okay. I'm going to name them. So this is my first x, so that's x1. This is my first y, so that becomes y1. This is my second x, so that's x2. And this is my second y, so that's y2. Okay? So no math done yet. I'm just naming stuff. Okay? Now I'm going to continue this guy over here. I'm going to go equals. I'm going to put my fraction bar and my subtraction signs for both of them. Now I'm going to put them where they go. And remember, color matters, okay? So I should have, these 2 should be the same color, and these 2 should be the same color as well, okay? So my y2 is a turquoise -8, so I'm going to put -8 right there. And my y1 is a orange 4. So I'm going to put an orange 4 right there. Down here, this should be a turquoise because it's x2, so that is a -8 in turquoise. And my x1 goes right here, and it is a -4 in orange. Okay. So my colors do match, so it should be right. It's y2 minus y1, so that's right. And x2 minus x1, so that's right. Okay. All right, so now I have subtraction over here, so now I'm going to do 2-stick rule. So I'm going to put 1 stick there, 1 stick there. On the bottom, I am going to put 1 stick here and 1 stick through that negative sign. Okay, so now it's a +4. So now we're going to solve them. On the top, we have negative and negative, so they're going to join up. They're all buddies. So that's going to give me a -12. And on the bottom, they're going to fight because I have a negative and a positive. Negative is going to win, and it's going to win by 4. Okay, so that is my slope. My slope tells me that we're going to go down because the numerator is a negative number. That's your vertical change. And we're going to go to the left because it's a negative number. And that is your horizontal change. And just like on the ones before, we can simplify this, or we can divide this one even. But first, before I even divide it, I'm going to go to church. You have to go to church, people. This church right here, not the other one. Well, you can go to the other one if you want. All right, so we have a negative divided by negative, which is a positive. So I'm going to just erase the church. It's a positive, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, so my slope is actually, even though it looks super negative right here, it actually is a positive because negative divided by negative is a positive. Okay? All right, so now I know my slope, so now I need to form my equation. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, slope times x plus b. Okay, your b can be a negative number. It's not always plus b. It can be minus b, but that's just what the standard equation is. So now I'm going to replace my slope, my m, with my 3. So I'm going to put y equals, and I'll change the color just so it stands out, 3x plus b. Now I'm going to pick a different set. So I'm going to pick whichever one. It doesn't really matter. So let's say I pick this one because it has a positive. Okay, so my y is a 10, and my x is going to be a -2. So now I'm going to put them where they go. So right here goes the 10, and over here goes the -2, and that one goes in parentheses. My 3 is still 3, and everything else is still the same, plus b. Okay? All right, so now we're going to multiply these two. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus b, because remember you go to church, positive times negative is a negative, and that gives you negative 6 over here, and then here I get a 10 because I didn't do anything to it. Now I need to get rid of this negative 6. The opposite of negative 6 is plus 6, so I need to do plus 6 here, and I get 16 equals b. So now I know my b, now I know my m up there, so now I can write my equation. So y equals 3x plus 16. So that is the equation for this line, where your slope is 3, or 3 over 1, and your b is 16. So that tells me that we're going to pass through door number 16, and from there we're going to go up 3 because it's a positive, and to the right 1. Okay, so again, if we have your graph like this, we're going to go to the 16, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's the door number that you're going to pass through. And from there, you're going to go up 3 and to the right 1, because that's what it tells us to do. And that is our line. Okay? So that, my friends, is how you find the slope and the y-intercept to form an equation that can make a graph. Okay, you guys already know how to do this part here, finding the slope. This is kind of new to you, finding the b. But now we know how to do it. It's super easy. You just pick another point and put it in there and get your b. Okay? And again, you can pick whichever ones. You don't have to pick the same ones that I picked. You can pick whichever ones. You get the same results. Once you get your equation, that's what your slope looks like. Even though it's not a fraction, you turn it into a fraction. You go up 3 and over 1 to the right, because they're both positive. If they weren't, it would not go that direction. It would go different directions. And then your b is your door, so that's where we pass through right there on the y-axis. Okay? So kids, that is how you do these problems. If you have any questions, of course, always reach out to me.